What is DNPV? Well, it's an improvement over net present value, or NPV. So to answer the question fully, we need to understand why it is necessary to improve on NPV for standard financial analysis. NPV poses several problems, mainly because it introduces a time bias effect that makes future assets or liabilities appear negligible. This effectively transfers wealth from future to current generations in exchange for risks, a process termed the tragedy of the horizon. To understand why this is so, let's review the time value of money concept. Everybody understands that money loses value over time. This is why we invest it, or keep it in interest-bearing accounts rather than tucking it under our mattress. If we add some numbers to this concept by assuming that money loses 2% of its value each year, then $100 stuck under a mattress would be worth only $67 after 20 years, and $30 40 years later. This intuitive concept is used in NPV to combine the time value of money and risk in a single parameter, the discount rate, a simple but quite deceptive concept. By coupling risk and time in this way, we implicitly assume that investing and saving are equivalent. But as we'll show, they are not. NPV also gives the false impression that risk can be easily correlated to discount rates, but if we look closer at the disparity between the risks that may affect an investment, we soon see this is not so. Investors may think they are using evidence-based discount rates, but actually discount rates are often selected using faith and intuition. In other words, discount rates represent desired returns rather than investment risk. So why is this loose connection between risk and discount rates a problem? Well, future values are sensitive to the discount rate, even at 2% as we saw previously. If we now use a discount rate of 12% to represent an investor's desired return, then $100 will be worth only $10 in 20 years' time, and only a dime in 60 years. For higher discount rates, the erosion of value is even more dramatic. Typical NPV analysis consists of estimating revenues and expenses, reviewing risks, but then selecting, not calculating, a discount rate. Future cash flows are then discounted using this rate. Under this model, however, the tragedy of the horizon looms when liabilities that occur far in the future need to be paid for. To avoid the unwitting transfer of unfunded liabilities to future generations, we need to address the time bias effect by decoupling the time value of money from risk and treating risk as a cost. This is where DNPV comes in. Let's look at revenues first. DNPV works by defining the downside risk of earning lower than expected revenues and assigning this risk as a cost. Similarly, DNPV defines the downside risk of expenditures being higher than expected and assigns this as a cost. As all investment risks have now been assigned as costs and used to adjust the cash flow from the investment, we can now discount for the time value of money using the risk-free rate. How is the cost of these risks calculated? Well, revenues and expenses are typically distributed such that data and experience can be used to bound expectations. As an example, a normal distribution may fit the data. We can use this distribution to calculate expected revenues, and therefore the cost of revenue risk. We can do the exact same thing to estimate expected expenditures and the cost of expenditure risk. Applied to typical financial analysis, the costs of expenditure risk and revenue risk are calculated and subtracted from cash flow, allowing an investment to be evaluated. Although DNPV overcomes NPV's inherent shortcomings, rather than discarding NPV altogether, the two methods can be combined synergistically. NPV serves to represent an investor's desired return, while DNPV represents investment risks. This provides greater insight when evaluating investment opportunities, which can save good projects from being passed over, help protect investors from latent risks, and align stakeholders' expectations to their actual rather than perceived risk exposure. Although DNPV has many applications, one of its most important is to highlight in financial terms that myopic investment strategies are harming longer-term projects, many of which have the potential to do immense good. In this era of climate change and other sustainability challenges, we simply cannot afford to keep making investment decisions the same way. By eliminating the time bias effect of NPV and pivoting to DNPV, Investments with long-term payback can finally be assessed on an equal footing with short-term opportunities. This could go a long way towards future generations inheriting a livable planet. For more information, visit dnpv.org or send us an email.